Welcome to Rust Belt Builds, and today we bring you a video with the aluminum heads that we've been talking about. So, for those of you who don't know or do know, we had a set of Vortec heads on the Camaro with a 510 lift Howard's cam. It was a roller setup in our 355. Go check out the previous videos with the car. There's so much informational video about the car, our plans with it, the goals with the car. And so with that being said, that brings us to this. So we never had aluminum heads on the car before. I got my little tool here with me that I'll be going over here in a second. So these are a set of eBay aluminum heads. Now there's a bunch of controversy on these heads, some good, some bad, but if you do your due diligence on YouTube and you read on these heads, these are the DNA motoring heads, so they're the more popular budget aluminum head that people go for. People run them with nitrous, people run them with boost, they run them NA, and they tend to work out pretty good for a cheap head. We're on a budget here, you know, we're not shooting for the stars, and we understand that, you know, quality over quantity is a thing. But like I said, we're on a budget, these do work. You know, Richard Haldner has videos on them. Piss Cutter Performance has videos on them. There's just so much information about these heads, and so we chose to go with them because we were on a budget. So they're a 202-160 valve. They are a 205cc intake runner and a 74 exhaust runner. So that brings us to, why do we have them out? What are we just doing sitting here looking at some heads? Well, we're not. If we take a look here at our intake runners, we have done some very modest porting and a little bit of polishing. Not so much polishing on the intake valves, but intake runners, sorry. But we're just trying to clean these things up because for a lot of those people who don't know about these, they come pretty rough. You know, you pay like $600 for a set. You're not going to get some AFR quality heads. So there is some cleaning up to do to make these things run better out of the box and safer. There's a bunch of jagged edges. Sometimes stuff doesn't line up, and the surface of the head is, I wouldn't trust it, you know. So when you get a set of these heads, I recommend to mill them, clean them up, check for anything, any cracks, because they are aluminum and they are cheap. Ours checked out good. We've had a little bit of professional insight on them, and from what I experienced with these, I've used them before, they work fine, they make good power, and they should meet our needs here. So if we check out our exhaust runners, these have been kind of polished, but they have been ported. You can see down into the throat. It's a little hard to see on camera due to the lighting, but if you go and look up a set of these castings on Amazon, you look at the pictures, it's super rough. It's like this material right here, all the way around. We want this material all the way around. So that's kind of what we're aiming for here. So yeah, just a little rundown on what we have going on here, and then we'll flip the head over.
That's a good shot.
Yeah,
it's really smooth. Smooth to the touch for sure.
And that's how you want them, really.
Feels like an eggshell.
So we haven't port matched yet because we're still waiting on gaskets, and our main focus here is just the ports and the throats and blending the bowl and just trying to get these things as smooth as we can. That's the number one thing you want to do when you're working with airflow, is smooth, volume, and the shape, because you want everything to match up. And typically when you match up an intake with the gasket to a head, there's always a misalignment. So that's a big thing. Check your alignment to your gasket and the surface of your head and your intake. Make them even and make that thing flow. So we're gonna flip this bad boy over, and we're gonna check out the down inside the intake, the valves and all that good stuff. So we've got them smoothed out, knocked off all the extra material. There is some minor stuff to go back through an end product. And if we take a look here, this is our bowl. This is where the combustion cycle happens. This is where your intake and exhaust valve is, and your spark plug. And if we take a look in here, I've started on that. You can see the difference. This is the rough material that we want to smooth out and eliminate, and this is what we kind of want right here. We want this to be smooth, and we're gonna polish it up and make it very nice. So thanks for watching this little intro to our heads. We do have the camshaft, and when we go to assemble, we will bring you guys a complete video from start to finish of the new power plant that is going to be in the Camaro. It's still going to be a 355. It's still going to have the stock bottom end. It does have aftermarket pistons and rod bolts. So we aren't going in here blind, and we're not going in here stupid. We're going to make sure everything gets done right. We're going to do piston to valve clearance, installed height, degreeing the cam, all this stuff that pertains to making horsepower the right way and just doing everything right. So this Camaro is going to be something wild, and it's been a long time coming. So stick around, and thank you guys for supporting the channel. You know, we're just two young guys out here in a small town with limited resources and limited funds, and we're trying to go fast on a budget and recreate some of the stuff that you older guys, because I know there's a bunch of older guys watching, some of the stuff that you guys did when you were younger, and we want to keep that going. So that's what this YouTube channel is all about. We're here for the knowledge, the fun, and all that stuff. So thank you for watching this. All right, so that brings us to the porting process and the polishing process. So like I said, we're not really doing much cutting. We're not doing anything too crazy. We just want to get these things smooth and everything even. I've ported a few heads. I've never really port matched, so we have a guy who's going to be helping us do the port matching. So like I said, we went in, smoothed everything out, and we have this air gun, pretty much like a Dremel, I guess, but it's a drill. So we have that with our nice little Husky tank. It ain't anything special, but it's helping us do what we have to do here. So that we're gonna start off here by smoothing these out. I'll show you how I do it, and I'm not gonna go too crazy. Like I said, I'm not cutting. I'm not really removing any excessive material. I'm just smoothing it out, taking off that rough casting that they decided to force upon us here. So I got this side already done, but this is just like the rough draft. I'm gonna go back through and smooth it out, but I'm gonna do my first lap getting it all touched up and scored evenly. So pretty much we're using some kind of little stone. It's not anything too abrasive. It breaks down faster than it takes material away, so that's usually what you want when you're trying to do something like this. They do make better bits, but this is what we have to do our smoothing with, and this is more of our rough cutting material that we've used to come down into the bowls and the throat and just smooth everything out. So we'll get to these on a different note, but for now we're going to stay nice and soft and gentle, and we're going to work our way around them. So I'm going to stand the head upright so I can get a better angle, and I'm just going to go and show you how I smooth this out. So we're just going to go around here and smooth it out, and I'll show you my technique, and we'll see how it goes. All right, so as you can see, I'm not really pushing too hard. I'm kind of letting the gun do what it wants to do. And I'm staying at an angle, and I'm going back and forth. I want to keep that same motion. I want to keep as even as I can. Now, I want to stay away from this valve seat, because you don't want to go up in there and ruin the chances of your valve not sealing up. So I'm just being very gentle, and I'm just working, like I said, working my way up. Let the gun do its thing. Don't press too hard, and you kind of just get the feel of it. So I'll continue. All right, so as you guys can see right here, this is kind of like the rough draft right here. This is what I just took away, and this is what's existing. So I you know, I got as close as I could to the seat without tearing anything up. That's what you want to do.
You mentioned that we are going to mill these as well.
Yeah, and we are going to mill these. So if you do get any scuffs like this, it ain't really going to hurt. And plus your gasket will make up for anything that is too wild. So yeah, this is what's done. Not polished yet, just a nice rough draft, and it's, you know, visibly smoother, and it physically is smoother than this side. So I'm just going to do this to every single one of these, and then when I get them all done, I'll show you the polishing slash getting them as smooth as I can. So yeah, that's pretty much the rundown on the combustion chamber. Now, there is different ways of doing this, and I will mention, it might not be much, but when you do remove anything at all out of the combustion chamber, you are opening it up, and that will drop your compression. I mean, maybe not by much, but it still drops it, and it's still a variable. So just keep that in mind. And in our case, we are already going pretty thin on the gasket, and yeah, pretty much we're keeping our compression already 10 to 5, 10 to 4 in that area, so it ain't gonna make that much of a difference. But just be mindful that that is a thing. When you take away from the combustion chamber, you are taking away from the compression ratio. Alright guys, so that wraps up today's video on the heads. We have them down at the machine shop right now. They are getting the complete work from Galen, from our local performance shop. He's the only guy local. He's been doing all my builds for years, all of his builds, all my grandpa's and my dad's builds. So he's kind of the real deal around here. And he's got the heads now. He's milling them 15 thousandths. He's going to be doing our installed height on our springs, making sure everything matches up on this head project that we have going on. And we're pretty excited about this. It's going to be wild, dude. We're going to be putting these heads on the Camaro with this big cam in it. And we've watched a few videos on how this cam acts and performs. And needless to say, we are very excited about it. It's going to be the biggest cam that I've ever shoved into a small block 350. And I think you guys are going to like it. So stay tuned. And yeah, this thing's going to be wild.